Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Benoski. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to Manufacturing Talks. We are live from Detroit, from the American Gear Manufacturers Association Motion and Power Technology Expo. I'm here now with Nicole Wolter. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi.
Hello, how are you today?
Tired, but
Yes,
good.
yes. Nicole was filling me in before we got on all her crazy activities, and we'll get into some of that here as we chat. But yeah, so I've actually known Nicole for several years.
Yes.
And this is the first time we've met in person.
Crazy.
Isn't it insane?
But it was so exciting to see you.
Same here.
And
yeah.
give you a hug because it's been a long time. And it's weird when you've met someone not in person,
Yep.
but over the phone, over
Yep.
podcasts, over writing stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's our world anymore.
I know.
Yeah, it's a little nutty, and it's always just a lot of fun to meet people in person for the first time.
Yeah.
And yes, so you made my morning.
Yay! But you know what? That's false because I think you've only talked to like 2 other people. So I don't know.
Well, but the morning's almost over, so you own that.
Yes.
I mean, your competition's Matt.
Boo. Poor Matt.
All right, so Nicole is CEO of HM Manufacturing.
Yeah.
And lots more we'll talk about as much as we can within the half hour. But let's start with HM. So tell me a little bit about that, about the company and your background, how you got into doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so a little bit about HM. HM is primarily a precision manufacturer of timing belt pulleys, gears, swines, shafts, in a lot of different ranges. So anywhere from a 1/2 inch all the way up to 18 inches. We do a variety of materials, primarily for aerospace, defense, packaging, processing, food processing, medical. I feel like it's just like an endless thing that we do, and that's really cool. But we are a second generation manufacturer. So my dad started it in 1979, and I came on board the latter half of 2009 and have been kind of sucked in ever since. So I love it. And then how I kind of got into it, I mean, it's just crazy because I was never supposed to be in the business whatsoever. But of course, 2009, it was the worst time to kind of come out of college and try to find a job. But manufacturing wasn't doing well at all.
No.
And so my dad's like, wow, you talk a lot. I think you would be great in sales. Come help me out. So I really did start. I know, you talk a lot. I don't know if that's good or bad, but some days I think it's bad. But yeah, so I started out on the shop floor. And so I learned how to do inventory management. I learned how to do shipping, receiving. I learned how to press in bearings, heat shrink flanges on, and then it just morphed into the internal side of things out in the office area. And now I run machines. I'm NIM certified. So, today I was talking earlier at a women's breakfast, and they're like, do you identify as an engineer? And I go, I identify as a machinist, as an engineer, as an accountant, as a marketer. I identify as so many things. So it's been really cool to be able to touch every part of the business.
Yeah. I love seeing the pictures you have on LinkedIn where you're down running a CNC machine or something like that. I've been in manufacturing my whole career, and those of us who really know manufacturing know you can't get away from the floor because that's where you learn
everything.
How the business is really doing.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think it's good too because I have a whole new appreciation for the team.
Right.
And so when you're standing on those mats for 8 hours, it's a lot. Yep. So I've even kind of retrofitted how we do things with like stools and different mats with pads, and I buy the guys new boots all the time so that they're always comfy. So it's a different appreciation, and then to be on the floor with them is really cool too. Yeah. And I think they like that.
You follow Stephanie Stuckey?
I don't.
Oh, you should.
Oh no! Now I feel like I don't know something.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe I get to tell you this story. Stephanie Stuckey is from the family that had the Stuckey stores.
Okay.
The little roadside stops where you get gas and snacks and things.
Okay.
And that all went away. It was a mess. It was sold to corporate interests, and they destroyed it like they always do. And then she had the opportunity. Her dad got it back, but it was not doing well. She had the opportunity a few years ago to buy it, and she bought it, and like you, was never supposed to be in the business.
Yeah.
She was like an environmental lawyer for the city of Atlanta or something.
Wow.
But anyway, the reason I mention her is I saw a video just a couple of weeks ago of her on the floor of her candy factory in Georgia, helping pack stuff into
You've
boxes.
got to do what you got to do.
Yep, and I gave her huge kudos.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't been in manufacturing that long, Stephanie, but you have got it. That's exactly where
you have to roll up your sleeves. I actually used to hate when my dad would come home and he would smell like oil. I'm like, ugh, that is so gross. Take a shower. And now if I don't smell like oil, I'm like, it was not a good day.
Yep.
We did not cut chips. We did not send out product. That's the new perfume.
It's your go-to?
I have to have that now.
That's awesome. Okay, so you got into it and you got
Hooked.
deep into it.
Very much, yeah.
So tell us about the business. I mean, it's really cool because what you do is the mainstay of what all
everyone's
these
here
people
for.
are doing out
Yeah,
here, right?
yeah.
So your stuff, tell us about some of the things it goes into, and
Yeah.
what are your old school businesses? What are you looking to as far as opportunities down the road?
Yeah, so old school, we used to be automotive because my dad started the business because he was an F1 racer. So
neat.
Yeah, I know. And ironically, now he drives like a turtle. So someone really needs to help me out with that one. But because that was the thing. It was gearboxes, it was gears, and it was automotive. And then in 1990, he kind of pivoted to more of the printing side of things.
Okay.
And then I would say in the last 5 years, we've really expanded our capabilities and our products. So we were just really timing belt pulley based. And now we do a ton of gears, spur gears, internals, shafts, splines. And then the industries have changed as well. So now it's very much food processing, beverage packaging, aerospace defense, medical. Some of our products go into the SpaceX things. I've had to sign extensive NDAs for stuff for the government that I don't know where it goes. I just know if it gets blown up, I don't come calling for me.
Right.
And then, of course, some other stuff, too, is that you would never think. We do a lot of stuff for the chicken McNuggets for McDonald's and their hamburger patties. Yeah, so it's really cool to see a lot of different arrays. Some things that I don't even want to know, but they make 40,000 pounds of chicken McNuggets an hour. And so we have, and that's just one line, and we have the whole line of gears, of splines and shafts, and we do all of that. So it's really cool to see all the chicken nuggets that I consume, I'm a part of.
Yeah, well, and you get to something that comes up again and again in dealing with this association is gears are in everything. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's a good message that we should be showcasing to a lot of people, right? Like on Instagram, on TikTok, and a lot of things, because people don't realize that everything here has been manufactured, right? So we touch every aspect. And yes, gears are in every single thing. Whatever we're touching, it's because a gear was definitely a part of that.
Yep. Okay, and so you're running this company
Yep.
down outside Chicago, and you obviously didn't have enough to do because then you get involved with the National Association of Manufacturers. Right?
Yeah.
What are you doing with them?
So I'm on a ton of boards, Jim. Like, I'm crazy. And when I tell you that I don't sleep, I don't sleep. And I know we talked about that I'm on 3 hours of sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had to run and get your coffee.
I
before we got
did.
on
This is
here.
probably my 5th one. I don't think it's helping anymore. But so I'm a part of NAM, which is the National Association of Manufacturers. And I absolutely love that group because we do a lot with advocacy. And I think it's really important to be on Capitol Hill and to be a part of policy that really impacts not just small businesses, but manufacturing as a whole. And we're trying to create policy that works for us, that keeps the innovation forefront, that we're very hard with the IP. We're trying to get the politicians to understand that the things that they do really can hurt us, make or break us, right?
Yep.
And so I really enjoy that. And I've been to the White House a few times. I've been a part of hearings to share my side of things, especially as a small manufacturer. And so that's really cool with NAM is that it's really heavily driven on policy, advocacy. And then on the other side of things, they're really invested into the next generation. And so they have this bus tour where they go all the way around and they have like the simulators and they try to go to a lot of these areas to try to get people to understand what manufacturing is. So I'm really proud to be a part of that.
And it's great too. I know in the past years ago, NAM got a bad rap for just catering to the big names.
The big corporations, yeah.
And so to have someone like you from a small machine shop in the Midwest having a voice in there really speaks well of what they've done too.
And they have to, right? Because there's more of us than there is the big corporations. And I understand that they have the big dollars to pay for it. But the problem is that the corporations are supported by the small manufacturers. So I think everyone's starting to understand that the more you keep hurting us, the less and less there is of us. And it ultimately really, it kind of goes all downhill from there.
Yeah, definitely a problem. And then closer to home, because now having done that, you had all that other spare times, the IMTS.
Yeah.
Right? So,
I love IMTS in my
Yes, I see it on
family
LinkedIn all the time. Yeah. So tell us about that.
So I've been super blessed to get to know all the rock stars at IMTS. I used to go as a kid with my dad. I used to come with all those swag bags, and I used to be with the big eyes, being like, oh my gosh, this is so epic and so big. I would love to be a part of it.
Yep.
And I just think maybe I manifested that into some sort of reality, because last year I was one of their rock stars and I was on their billboards and I was everywhere. And it was because of the story that I pitched to them. And I said, hey, I've got a really good story that I think not only is it going to be impactful for people, but definitely for women, and like how you just go through adversity and you just deal with it. And you just keep your head down and keep working.
Yep.
And so because of that, I've gone to their headquarters a lot. I'm with them a lot. I work with them on a few different stories and trying to promote manufacturing, and also trying to get other leaders involved with IMTS. But I was just with them at EMO.
Yep.
So that was super fun.
Very cool.
And we had a little mini series of me, Peter, and Travis on our journeys to EMO, and the differences of what a show looks like, a manufacturing show in Germany looks like versus the ones that we have here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So then you also do local stuff in Illinois, right? You're involved in some manufacturing associations down around Chicago.
Yeah. Like I said, Jim, I'm crazy and I have no time, but yet I add more. Yeah. So I am the current chairman of the Technology Manufacturing Association, which is a 98-year-old association. Cool. I am the first Latina ever. So that's always so fun and exciting to see how that's changed throughout the years. Yeah. But I'm proud of the work that we do there. We have an education foundation portion, so we grant money to the local high schools with a manufacturing program. I'm on those advisory boards because that's super important to be able to kind of curate the types of classes that they're offering and saying, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is what I think you should be teaching the kids because this makes the most sense. And then, of course, the education, the training for local shops like myself. And they've done such an impressive amount of work with really adding a lot of classes with their apprenticeship program, their 3-year apprenticeship program that's sponsored by the Department of Labor of Illinois. So when they're done with that, they have this huge certificate. It's a big deal. So
it's huge. Yeah. I use you guys as an example of what we should be doing everywhere. Because it's multifaceted. The whole outreach to young people who decreasingly understand what we do in manufacturing.
Right.
And then the whole training piece. How are we going to replace all these skilled baby boomers who are in the process of retiring right now?
And it's a scary thing. And that's why I think it's so important to get it from a younger level and then morph that in so that they get an understanding. But TMA has done an incredible job trying to get people educated and also skilled up so that they feel like you're not just a button pusher, but that there's a career path in manufacturing.
Right. Yep. Excellent. So back to the show. Obviously, you've got multiple things going on here, but for you, for HM, what are the big things you want to get out of the show here? What are the big highlights for you?
So I've never been to this show.
Okay.
So I'm here with like new eyes, which is really exciting. I'm blown away by the amount of members that actually are displaying here and that they have a booth. I think that's really cool, not just for the association level, but it just shows how much they really believe in the AGMA product, right? I mean, because that's just what this is.
Yep.
And so for me, what I'm trying to look at, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what kind of machinery I want on my floor for next year. So I think for now, it's just kind of figuring out who is going to be best suited for us at HM and where we're going to go. I don't know if I want another gear shaper, if I want a gear grinder. And so we're just trying to figure out, where is our product line going? Where is our capabilities going to go that's going to be in line with our future customer as well? So kind of like walking the floor and trying to get an idea of all the things.
As you think about that, what, looking down the road, what do you see as potential opportunities that you haven't tapped into for the business at HM?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's going to be more on the robotics side. I think if I could start making products for automation and robotics, that's going to be paramount to things, because I think everything else has somewhat been played out, right? It kind of is. And no one's really tapped into the automation and robotics. I mean, of course we all have, but it's not everywhere as we all thought it should be. I mean, when I was in Europe, I was shocked at EMO, the amount of automation and machine tending that was visible that you could actually see. Versus here, it's not the same. So I feel like we still have a stigma against automation.
Yeah.
But it's coming. I think that's starting to change. I mean, the biggest example to me is my dad. My dad was so against automation for everything. I was like, you're killing me. But I understand, because the philosophy was, if like you had high mix, low volume, which is what we are, we have the small batches and we're constantly turning over, that automation could not play and did not play into your space. But it's changed so much. And the affordability is another big piece of it. And the fact that now it's easier to program, it's easier to manage. They are making things like the cobots and the robo jobs of the world, where you don't need the hundreds and thousands anymore for it to make sense. You could do 20. So.
Well, and I think you're onto something there, because there are a couple of things going on. I mentioned the baby boomers. The fact is, we don't have the numbers of people. That's the biggest generation in recent time. So necessarily, we're going to have to replace some of the lower tier jobs to get people skilled into the higher level things. So there's that. And then, like you mentioned, that technology is changing so fast. It's so much more flexible. So much more affordable. So
And AI is really starting to come into the space. Right. So I was just down at Mazak last week for their Discover Mazak 2023 event. And I was shocked at how they've put AI into their manufacturing equipment, their machinery. And I didn't understand how important it is. And so they were talking about how there's a new technology for their AI that is how it would show the spindle health. And it does a check every so often. So every time the machine's running, it gets all the analytics and it starts to understand what it actually should be at. And when it starts to kind of go into the yellow zone, it'll start dictating like, okay, if you keep running it this way at this speeds with this type of ratios, you're going to need to replace a bearing within like 6 months. And so it feeds that to you. And it's so great, because in today's age where you can't get people to work anymore, right? Or everyone's starting to kind of age out and retire, you're losing the maintenance portion. And so now if you can have that feature, that AI, which tells you like, yep, in 6 months, we're going to send you this bearing because you're going to need to replace it. It's so much easier than taking the whole spindle apart, being down, which is so costly, and having to figure it out yourself.
As a friend of mine used to say, you want to avoid the loud and expensive noises.
Oh, I just had one last week and I wanted to cry.
Oh, geez.
So we're down with one machine because it just was a big boom. And I was like, that doesn't sound good.
That's not a good way.
But that AI would have been wonderful to say, hey, so don't worry about this turret, but maybe you should look at the rails, like give me some guidance here.
So technology will finally catch up and you won't have to face that again.
Oh, good.
So before we wrap up, we're getting down here toward the end.
Oh my goodness.
Is there anything about what you have going on that we haven't talked about? We've covered a lot of ground, but you also covered a lot of ground.
I know, it's crazy. No, I think what's super cool is coming to these types of events and the networking and getting to see people and meet people. That's really exciting. because we didn't have that for so long.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to get back on the floor and learn about the new technology that's out here, the new solutions, even down to the tooling that has changed drastically.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's more updated and more exciting, and I love being a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you say about people being happy to be back out here. I've been to a few shows since COVID finally unleashed its grip on us, and it's just amazing how people they're just thrilled to be back out in person, seeing people on the floor of a show like this.
And the bar yesterday was jam-packed, I heard.
Boy.
So everyone was at the bar having a good time till 1:30 in the morning. I was not part of that crew. Maybe tonight I will be.
Yeah, well, that's part of these shows too. That's the networking.
It is, and it's a good camaraderie, and it's really fun because then you get to meet people on like a different level, right? Like no one here, it's like you're working, and it's a different atmosphere. And then when you go to the bar, everyone's kind of let their hair loose and have a good time.
Yep.
So it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of fun, we also wouldn't be doing you justice if we only talked about business. So what do you do for fun?
Oh, Lord.
In all that spare time you have left.
Right? So I ride horses.
Oh, excellent.
I'm a competitive show jumper.
Wow.
Yeah, so I travel around when I can to go compete. So I'm in Cincinnati a lot for horse shows, up in Chicago, down in Florida. So kind of wherever I can go to sneak around to go do that. But that's my happy space. That's what I do to kind of regroup. I love to golf, but it's just becoming so maddening. I was really good at one point, and now it's just now it's more frustrating to golf than it is to enjoy.
Yeah.
But no, I try to go out with friends. But the horse thing is massive for me. That keeps me grounded and happy. And I've heard that when I don't ride, I'm told go ride because you're being very mean. So so when I get that cue, I go to the barn.
I get it. I'm have been my entire life an avid bicyclist, and same thing. If I get out of riding for a while, I'm definitely not.
And you feel it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a better leader. I'm a better owner. I'm a better everything when I finally can kind of do me. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, okay. I'm actually going to get you out of here early.
What?
Yes.
That is crazy.
Which is fantastic because you have a lot of stuff to cover out here.
I know. I'm afraid to like even check my emails. So I like don't even want to. Can you just keep me here? I feel like the longer I'm here, the less I have to do. So.
It is the other downside of coming to something like this. You work your tail off to free up the time to get out here.
Yeah.
And then you know it's all piling up while you're here.
I know.
And then you get home and
then I have no feet because I'm always in heels. And so that needs some resting, some Epsom salt baths as well.
Something I don't have to deal with. You did share with me just before we got on that, yes.
It's tough being a woman. Yeah. It's fun. And then it's not when you have to wake up early to get ready.
I right when you said that and fully understood because I took my shower and ran my brush through my hair.
Jim, stop it. I'm getting very upset now.
The other things that these women who are joining us in the manufacturing world have to deal with.
Literally.
So yes, give them some space, people.
Yes.
They have lots to deal with.
Exactly.
Awesome. Nicole, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, Tim, it's been such a pleasure, especially in person. It's a different vibe. I'm all about it. It's exciting.
Well, good. And I will be in touch. I need to come down and see you guys.
Oh my gosh, please. You always have an open invitation.
Thank you.
Come see the automation. Come see the young crew because I told you I've got a young, so the average age is 32. So we're young.
Wow.
I know.
Yep.
So the only boomer is my dad and I can't boom him out. So.
I understand. You wouldn't happen to know, hold on, it'll come to me. Gina Thorson at Stormy Cromer?
It sounds like she sounds familiar.
So she is a fellow female business leader.
Okay.
She makes the Stormy Cromer hats. The, kind of iconic winter hat with the fold down ear flaps.
Oh.
She just took over the CEO position at her company last summer.
Okay.
And I went to see her. It's in my hometown of Ironwood, Michigan, by the way. So I was in my hometown, went out to the shop and went and chatted with Gina. And I said, so how's Bob doing? And she said, oh, he's fine. He's in here every day.
Yes, every day. My dad is. I'm like, Lord,
Yes.
do you want to pick up another, like a hobby? Like go golf, go do something. But I think that's the beauty of it, right? I mean, like that's his baby, and he
Yep.
needs to. That's.
Yep.
I think when I talk about me having to ride because that's my happy space, I think the company and all of his insanity is his happy space.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and someday you'll get to that point and you'll understand it.
We'll see.
You might just go ride.
I'm gonna go ride. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Nicole.
Thanks,
Great
Chad.
having you here. And we are here all day long, so I'm going to be back. I have lunch right now.
Yeah, but I'm
actually
still
got a
the
little
best
break.
of all of today. So I'm not going to say the morning. I'm going to call it. So
All right.
I'm
It's all
doing that,
downhill
yeah.
from here. Okay, folks, you're going to have to gauge that. So do sign back on. We'll be
Yeah.
back here at 12:30. And got the whole afternoon booked solid. So
With
we
really
are
good
here.
people, too.
Yes, very
They're a good
good
crew.
people from the American Gear Manufacturers Association Motion and Power Technology Expo at Huntington Place in Detroit. We will be back in just a little while.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Benoski. Watch for new episodes dropping every Tuesday, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.